I've been a professional photographer for over 10 years, and in this video, I'm gonna give you 5 tips and tricks I wish I knew when I started that have made my editing workflow way faster. I'm talking Lightroom, I'm talking Photoshop, I'm talking which one to use and when to use it, how to use it, to turn around edits faster and not spend as much time editing those darn photos. And if you wait till the end of the video, I'm gonna give you a 6th tip, one more trick that's gonna completely change the way you edit your photos. Make sure you stick around for that. What's going on? My name is Andres Tagliaferro, but you can just call me Tags. And on this channel, we talk about all things content creation and entrepreneurship. So if you want to grow as a content creator and do that full time or learn how to make more money doing content creation, this is the place for you. So make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. But this video is for my photographers. Look, if you are a photographer and you're just not that in love with the editing process, not because you don't like editing it, but you wish it could be a little faster, this video is for you. We all know that time is money in editing and when you're watching videos, so let's get right into it. Now, the first tip is that you have to know what Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Lightroom are for. They're completely different softwares and they have completely different use cases. Now, while you can do some things in one that you can do in the other, there are things that are just way faster to do in Photoshop than they are in Lightroom, and vice versa. There's things that are way easier to do in Lightroom than they are in Photoshop, and marrying the two softwares is gonna be where you find your most optimized workflow ever. Me personally, I started on Lightroom. The second somebody told me about graduated filters, I was sold on Lightroom, and so I dove into it. I learned everything there is to know, but I found myself trying to do things in Lightroom that Lightroom just isn't built for. And while they give you the tools to do it, like spot removal and these other retouching tools, Photoshop is the retouching software that makes retouching so easy. And so the first thing I want you to know, and the first piece of advice, is to understand and dive deep into the differences between the two. And I'm going to touch on it lightly right here. And that's one, Lightroom is an editing software, meaning you're going to do things like fixing your exposure or tweaking your exposure, correcting the colors, color grading your image, cropping, all of these things that have to do with editing the image itself. And Photoshop is a compositing software, meaning that if you need to alter anything within the image, not just change how it looks, but change the way the dress on the girl flows, or you want to smooth over their skin, Photoshop is better for these more intricate, detailed stuff than Lightroom. Now, if you try to go into Photoshop trying to edit the exposure and color correct and all of these things, you can do them, but it takes a whole lot longer. So making sure to use both of these at their best is easily the fastest way to just chop time out of your editing process. So again, Lightroom for the light, editing the photo itself, Photoshop, editing the things within the photo. Think of it that way: editing versus compositing, editing versus altering. That being said, number 2 is a shortcut that's gonna help you send photos from Lightroom to Photoshop, and that is Command-Shift-E. You're gonna send the photo directly to Photoshop as a file that's embedded to Lightroom, meaning you're not exporting the image and then importing the image to Photoshop and then messing with it and then exporting it and importing it back into Lightroom. No, there's a simpler way, folks, and that is to just hit Command-Shift-E. What that's gonna do is send it over to Photoshop. You can do all of the retouches you wanna do. You can change the background, you can change the way her face looks, all of the things you wanna change, or retouch the model's skin. And then you hit Command-S, and you go back to Lightroom, and all of those changes that you made in Photoshop are now in the Lightroom file. Now, this is a big deal because, again, if you weren't aware of this, then you might have been doing what I was doing, or maybe what I was doing before it was even an option 10 years ago, which is exporting the image from Lightroom, then bringing it into Photoshop, and then back into Lightroom. It's a lot of hassle. So Command-Shift-E, I just saved you a ton of time. You're welcome. So number 3 is batch editing, and more specifically, copying and pasting effects from one image to the other. You're doing a photo shoot like this one on the screen, where it's kind of the same area, the same lighting, the same everything, and you're just having the model pose differently. You don't want to have to go in and apply the same effects or the same exposure or redo the curve or any of that. If you just hit Command-C on the first image that you edit and then select all of the other images and hit Command-V, you're going to copy and paste all of the settings that you just used. Batch edit all of the photos at once, saving you time, and then you can go through each individual photo and tweak the little things you want for each photo. But this way, you're not spending time starting from scratch at every photo. If you didn't know about this before, it's super simple, super easy, and it's the best thing ever in those circumstances. Before this was an option, or maybe before I knew that it was a thing, I used to actually create a preset for every shoot that I did so I could easily apply it to all of them. And if you've done that, you don't have to do that, okay? Because saving a preset that is just specific to one location is annoying, and then you're gonna end up with a library full of presets. And I had like over 50 presets of just different areas that I shot in, and it was not the best move. And batch editing is gonna fix that for you. Now, while we're on the subject of presets, number 4 is look at Lightroom's premium presets, the presets that they already have available. I know if you're a photographer who's trying to churn photos out faster, one thing you're probably always in the market for is new LUTs, the best new looks from your favorite creator. And that's cool, do that if you want to, but if you're trying to develop your own style, it's super tempting to want to save your own presets, but sometimes you just don't know where to start. If you look at Lightroom's preset pack, there are so many options. Back in my day, they weren't available. There weren't any presets, so you had to buy presets to kind of start from a certain place, or you had to create your own presets. Now you can use the ones in Lightroom. Here's what I would suggest doing. This is really the tip: is find like the 5 presets from there that you really like the most. And the thing you'll know about these presets is they're very much like starter presets. None of these are going to be one-click solution presets like some of your favorite content creator ones. They're all going to be things very specific to the type of model, the type of landscape. You know, like sometimes it'll be portrait dark tone or portrait light tone. These are things that are super cool to be able to use. So if you are a predominantly black photographer, right, you shoot a lot of black models, or you're a predominantly white photographer, it might be smart for you to grab those, tweak them with your style, put your own spin on them, and then save your own presets based off of those starter ones. I've done this before. I've done it with other preset packs that maybe there were things I didn't like about it, so I would tweak it and change it. But before you spend any money, try the Lightroom stuff, because it really is crazy how many new presets there are, and I think it's worth everybody's time to go through them and like pick out some ones that you really like, because you never know, you might find the one for you. Tip number 5 to make you lightning speed at editing photos is start using the target adjustment tools for slider. I'll show you right here. If you want to select the color or make a change to a specific part of an image, all you have to do is go to the slider panel, click the little crosshair button, and now you can go to the place in the segment you want to change. So let's say you're on saturation and you want to make it more saturated. You can click, hold, and drag. One of the things you had to do, again, back in my day, is you had to kind of guess, you know, like maybe that's kind of orange, but it's more towards yellow. You'd have to spend time guessing which is it, yellow, orange, or red, and then tweak those and spend time. Now, all you have to do is use that selection tool and then just go up or down. It's super simple, super cool. Once I figured that out, it made my editing process way better and way faster. And there's actually something similar for white balance. If you maybe feel like you're not really getting the true tone of the photo, you can go over to the exposure part of Lightroom, click that eyedrop thing, and click on the thing that looks the most naturally white to you in the image. And when you do that, it's gonna tweak the temperature of the image, the tint of the image, and it's gonna give you something a lot more true to tone. You don't have to spend, again, time trying to, do it yourself, tweaking the greens and the magentas, warmth and the cools. You don't have to do all that, okay? You can just click the widest part of the image and it's gonna do it for you. Those are the 5 tips that if you implement them into your workflow right now, you're gonna be way faster than you were before. And I said I had one more. I actually have 2 more. First bonus tip is if you don't know about Photoshop's camera raw function, it's super sick. There are photo shoots, or maybe there's content like this where I just want to edit a thumbnail. It's just a limited amount of photos. It's not like 300 photos that I want to put in Lightroom and then like sort out. No, it's just like 5 photos that I took of this or that. Instead of creating a whole new catalog designated for just like 5 photos, all you have to do is go to Photoshop and open all of them in Photoshop. And there's going to be this pop-up Lightroom looking panel called Camera Raw. Because if you're planning on using an image just for like some sort of graphic design or for some other purpose, and you want to edit it, but you don't want to go through the hassle of opening Lightroom, editing it, and then importing it to Photoshop, Camera Raw is actually a super sick feature that kind of limits your need to use Lightroom if you don't have to or you don't want to. And the last bonus tip that's gonna change your life is actually a Photoshop function, and that is the new selection tools. Again, I keep saying this, but back in my day, right, you would have to, if you wanted to select anything or remove any background, you'd have to use the polygonal, so one of the lasso tools, and literally manually go around and select your thing, and then, or maybe you use a quick selection tool and like test your luck with it. Nowadays, all you have to do if you have a clear, subject in your image is click the image, and then something's gonna pop up under your image and it's gonna say select subject or remove background. You haven't selected a subject before and you've only ever selected manually the things or used other, selection tools. This thing has gotta be the most time-saving function ever. If you want to change the background in an image, maybe you just want to add like a blur for some reason to the back, whatever you want to do where you need to separate the subject from the image, this is going to do it in seconds. And there's so many of these weird little AI things like, you know, generative fill and other things, which I might cover later on, or maybe, you know, in my later graphic design version of this video of how to design faster in Illustrator and Photoshop. But for photos, I mean, that's a game changer. And if you didn't know about the select subject button, now you know, and I just saved you so much time. You're welcome. But that's really gonna be it for this video, and those are gonna be your 5 tips and tricks, really 7 because I gave you 2 bonus ones because I'm just like that. Ways to edit faster. And if you got value out of this video and you learned something new, let me know in the comments, join the community, make sure you subscribe, like the video. And while you're here, if you've had the itch to buy something new but don't want to break the bank, I actually have a video for you that's gonna give you 15 must-have content creator pieces of gear under $100 that are gonna change your workflow, whether you're a videographer, photographer, or graphic designer. That video is probably on my face right now as I'm speaking, so make sure you click it, go watch it, and just remember, no matter where you are on your walk in your content creator journey, to stay grateful. I'll see you over there. Peace.